Okay, welcome everyone. This is our inaugural edition of What's Your Star Purpose? My name is Kian, the founder of Star Producer Academy, and today we have a very special guest all the way from Australia, where I'm originally from. So Aussie, welcome Ben Simkin from Brisbane. Closely, you may have heard of Gold Coast, but Brisbane is
Yeah.
the next best thing. No, I'm kidding. Welcome, welcome to our New York to Brisbane
Thank
call.
you.
Ben, how are you this morning over there? And
I'm really well. Thank you for having me on this call.
oh, we're very excited to have you on our first episode, you could say, and
Great.
we're excited that you're actually going to be coming all the way to New York in a few weeks' time, April the 11th, I believe.
Yeah, that's right. April the 11th, we are holding our very first event in the US in New York City, so it's going to be fantastic. I'm pretty
Oh,
excited. We
congratulations.
we hold a lot of events down here, so it's good to go and expand and reach more people.
Absolutely, that's what it's all about, impacting
Yeah.
lives. And just as a quick intro, Ben is the founder of businessnet.com.au, the founder of themastermind.com.au as well, and he's well known for what? $1.4 billion in client sales through Facebook advertising. That's your genius, that's your gift to the world, your talents there. So thank you for coming to New York and sharing some of the wisdom and obviously the ongoing developments of Facebook, which is very exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be great. It's what I enjoy doing, so it's going to be good to do it in the Big Apple.
Yeah, you missed the snowstorm. We had a crazy snowstorm last week. And the funny thing was, I literally came across Ben about a week ago, right? I was one late night, I was scrolling down my feed, and is this guy offering this, 1 day workshop in New York City, 1.4 billion I saw, and that caught my attention, and I said, like, I've got to go meet this guy, right? He's from Australia. I'm going to meet my fellow Aussie. So I buy a couple of tickets, and I realize, man, I need a few more. So I need about at least five. So I call your office, which is I knew was in Australia, and so the Aussie time zone was fine. I said, I need to
Yeah.
order a few more tickets. Is that possible? I said, I'm just a receptionist here. I said, okay, no problem. Can you just leave a message, please? He was very polite, very nice about it. I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, you give me a call. I wasn't expecting it. It was 1 a.m., right, New York time. So who's this guy calling me from Australia? And it's you. So that was pretty neat. Appreciate the personal touch. So
Yeah, of course, of course. It's what we're all about here.
yeah.
Anything that we can do. We're a big company, but you can't lose that importance of looking after your clients. And I don't want to go into it too much, but being preeminent and one of the things one of my mentors, Jay Abraham, taught me was always serve first, and everything else will come later on. So just always be in that mindset of serving all the
Ab-
time. So yeah,
Absolutely. So yeah, that's good old Jay Abraham. I caught up with him like the last time was a couple of years ago at the Genius Network, and he was presenting there as well. So that was fantastic. He's the preeminence philosophy, right? Service, really really setting yourself apart, and that's what people care
yeah,
about. Now, value number one, yes. Service is about I think number two in what people care. But let's go way back. So often we kind of go, yeah, he got to that level of success, but how did he get to that level of success? So you're still very young, but tell us a bit about your background and I guess how you fell into Facebook marketing. Tell us a bit about your story.
yeah. I think that I'm just trying to think about how far back I should go, but maybe I should just go back to the very start.
Yeah, where you born?
I was born in a little country town in Australia,
Okay.
but I grew up with a family that was fairly poor,
Uh-huh.
and um, well, when I got my first computer at the age of 13,
Oh,
which they had rustled some money up together and got a second-hand computer.
wow.
And just being very curious, always being a very curious person. I was, taking it apart,
Mm.
breaking it, trying to put it back together. Then started writing software and programming and learning, several different programming languages, all at the age of 13
Wow.
through textbooks and things like that, and really just trying to see what this thing can do.
Mm.
And that's really started I guess, sparked one of my things where I just continually like to learn things. I'm so curious about so many different things. And And yeah, that's how I think the whole learning thing happened. But how I got actually into business is very
Hmm.
interesting because, from the age of 13 to the age of 16, I was writing software, I was
Writing
writing code, I
software.
was
What type
doing
of
things.
software are we talking about? This is back in the. Well, I don't want to give away your age. Now, how old are you, by the way? This you
I'm
had
34 right now.
34, so you're at
Yeah.
that basically when you were 20 years ago, right? We're talking
Yeah.
about 1996, 97. So what sort of
Yeah.
programming languages were you working on back then?
Yeah, I knew 5 different languages. I mean, most of them are obsolete now, except for like C and C++ and
Yep,
stuff.
yep.
But I was writing little computer video games for my friends at school and all kinds of funny
Awesome.
stuff like that. So
Did you have that from your father or your mother who kind of gave you that kind of both very analytical and creative side of things? It's not just the.
yeah, no, I think I've just always been very, very curious and reading. Love to read a lot of, and I was
Yeah.
reading like big textbooks to learn how to do this stuff,
Wow, wow.
and then just doing it. But the funny thing is, like, I went from the age of 13 to the age of 16. I dropped out of high school. I didn't even finish school.
Wow, you're a high school dropout
Because
when you were 13 or
I was
14?
I was dropped out when I was 16.
16. Wow,
Uh,
that's cool.
because I wanted to go get a job writing software for companies. So I just came home and I said, "Oh, I'm not going to go to school anymore." And my parents were like, "Well, that's fine, whatever."
Cool.
So
Good parents.
they were pretty laid back. Um, and But what happened was I got a phone call, or my parents got a phone call from this family friend, and he said one of my friends is in a lot of trouble. His whole company's in complete lockdown. So what happened was their IT manager at this company, this big company,
Hmm.
had a fight with the owner, and he decided to lock the whole entire company down,
Wow.
and to the point where nobody could use their computers, nobody could get any information. So the company was basically at a standstill.
Corporate
So
espionage.
they were at a position where, well, they have to shut down, or what do they have to do? So they got me and a 16-year-old kid to go in there and hack into the computer
You
system
hacked the system.
and and restore access to all the people in the company. So
Wow.
I went in there, and 3 days later the company was back up and running
That's
again.
incredible. So you hacked
Uh,
into his hack. What did you do? Did you were you a hacker back in the day as well? I mean, this is just something that came natural, or you just Googled? There wasn't even Google back then, right?
there was no Google.
So
There was no
how did
Google.
you know how to encrypt or hack into?
Just just knowing, programming and encryption and things like that. If you know how it works, you know how to reverse it and how to overcome things and that kind of stuff. So kind of come because I was learning a lot. It's one of the things that I knew how to do.
Wow.
But what happened was because I didn't come from a family of business owners or anything like that, my family were working class.
Hmm.
This guy that owned the company, he said, you should go out on your own. You should have your own company. You shouldn't work
Yeah.
for other people.
You probably saved
And
him. Who knows how much
that
money
put
you
a
saved him?
that put a seed into my head, and it wasn't 4 years later. I decided when I was 20 years old to quit my job and start my own company, and
Wow.
that's really started my entrepreneurial journey.
That is
So that's
phenomenal.
that's what got me into business in the first place.
That's such a great story. Now, when you were what did you do between 16 and 20? Didn't you wake up, man? Did the guy tell you? You probably saved us, hundreds of thousands of dollars, right?
Yeah,
Or whatever. But you went. What did you do between 16 and 20? What took you
I,
so
I was
long to get your act together, man?
I was
Yeah.
working for a lot of companies.
Oh, you were still
Uh,
freelancing, were you? Like, or you
I
were
was
kind.
employed. Yeah, I was employed for other companies.
Okay,
But
that's fair enough. At
I guess
16,
I kind of felt like I maybe wasn't ready for that
yeah,
at that time, and I just didn't had to overcome, the kind of get the confidence
yeah.
and feel like I could actually do it and things like that.
You were 16.
And
That's fair
so
enough.
I quit my job at the age of 20 and then start my company, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, I don't know anything about business. What do I do? How do I get clients? How do I do this? How do I do that? And I'm like, well, I'm like, well, if I look at how I got to where I am now,
Mm,
I was reading a lot of books to get to where I was in the programming world. I should just apply that same technique and just go read as many business books as I can.
absolutely.
And what I did. I read hundreds of books. One of the influences was obviously Jay Abraham,
Yes.
and that was a big impact with just applying his things. Just dramatically grew my company, my
Mm.
first company, which I then eventually sold before I started, BusinessNet. So distant learning and applying is one of the big principles that I kind of have realized in hindsight has been one of the key factors for me.
What was that
Yeah.
moment where you said, I'm ready now? Did you spend a few years reading about business books and then it gave you the confidence to go, or did someone really just say, Ben, you're a genius. Go out and set up your own business. Was it someone who really just pushed you over the edge, or was it an epiphany at some point, or gradual epiphany that you said now's the time after you just got
Yeah, well,
confidence?
definitely. I mean, one of the things is obviously this mentor kept telling me, hey, every time I saw him, he's like, start your own company, start your own company. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I'm ready yet. And but then reading some books, two books that I read before I quit my job were, number one was Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which everyone says they read, which has a lot of really good mindset stuff. Definitely not a practical book, but definitely a lot of really good mindset stuff, which really changed the way that I thought about things. And the other book that I read was a book called The University of Success, which I picked up in a secondhand bookstore, which was tremendously impactful for me as well. So those two books really kind of turned my mind towards, well, maybe I should go and do something bigger. And that's when I kind of stepped up and said, yeah, I can do this.
Fascinating. So Rich Dad Poor Dad has changed so many people's lives. It's a shift. It's really that mindset shift, I think. And as you said, it tactically is not that in depth, but it's storytelling. Isn't it? The funny thing is, stories can really impact people's lives. It's created the greatest movements, the greatest religions, everything, right? It's funny how we think. It's not like ABC, like do all the different coding or whatever, but sometimes it's that shift in the whole identity, right?
There's always a story. There's always a story behind someone's identity shift, and that's like you said, that's one of the big things. If somebody wants to take action, they have to change their identity before they do that, and that's I think one of the big factors as well, and something that people don't probably realize or understand.
Absolutely.
So you've got a really good point there.
Yeah,
it's really good.
Fantastic. Well, let's move on to the next phase. Like, you went from the first software company. Or what was the first company you started? And then tell us the transition to, I guess, your current focus.
Yeah.
And how you've able to have massive breakthroughs. I'm sure there's there's that first few years, which is always the toughest. Right?
Absolutely.
All the entrepreneurs, the wilderness that we're in, as they say, right? And then and then you kind of break through, and that hockey stick sort of happens.
Yeah. Well, my first company, we grew without internet marketing because there wasn't really internet marketing.
No.
There was probably, can't remember when Google came out, but there wasn't really anything that you could really do like you can do today. Like, you can put an ad on Facebook now and make hundreds of thousands of dollars pretty quickly. There was nothing like that.
Sound easy. You make it sound easy, but continue. Sorry.
We had, phones, we had fax machines, we had all that kind of stuff. So, learning the fundamentals of actually growing a company rather than relying on tactical things and tactical approaches, understanding the fundamentals, through geometric business growth and all these kinds of things, and preeminence, were all the things that I had to rely on to grow this company. We doubled the company year on year for 7 years in a row before we sold it.
Wow.
So this was before internet marketing existed, pretty much.
So you're applying a lot of direct marketing principles, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Risk reversal, all the great stuff from Jay Abraham, I'm sure.
Actually going out and driving out to see people in person, all those kinds of things that we don't do now.
Yeah. No, you don't need that anymore, pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, tell us, how did you get your first client? It's always, the first few clients are the toughest. You had you had not a ton of social proof. You had a lot of experience. You had some interesting stories. But, how did you get your first few clients, and then how did it just, double year on year? That's compounding effect for 7 years. That's pretty impressive. You were, from 50,000 to like, a couple of $1 million, I'm sure, if you were doubling, every year for 7 years.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, just briefly, just tactically looking at the 3 ways to grow a business, which focusing on how you can get your clients to spend more money with you for a longer period of time is a factor that you need to be aware of, because that's really the key to success. If you can get people to stick around for as long as you can, we've had a client stay with us for 10 years and pay 16 grand a month, which is extraordinary. And if you thought short term, if you want to nickel and dime people or you don't want to, go the extra mile every month and try and
Mm-hmm.
help people, then you're going to lose a client very quickly. But if you can think about what's the long game, that's pretty important, I think, as a takeaway. But in terms of getting my first marketing client, with online marketing, very, very interesting story as well. So he was a client of our computer company, and I didn't know anything about websites or internet marketing. But he calls me into his office and he says, "Hey, everyone's getting websites these days. Let's get a website. Let's do online marketing." I'm like, "Yeah, let's do this." Thinking that I could go and find someone who could do it for me, and then I just get a bit of a cut.
Yeah.
But I went away and I couldn't find anyone to help me. So I was like, well, maybe I just got to try and figure this out myself. So I figured out somehow that you could rent. This is before Facebook. You could rent an email list. This is back in 2005.
Okay.
So
what did you say? You bought what? I got cut off. I beg your pardon. What did you say?
You could rent an email list. So
email list. Okay.
Email list. You could rent one. You could send it out to 10,000 people and generate leads and sales doing that. So you could send out these offers through email. That was pretty much one of the only ways to get leads back then.
Wow.
Online. So we rented this email list of 10,000 people. And I knew the client. He had run this little classified ad in the newspaper since 1980, and that was how he was getting all of his clients through this one little ad. So I was like, you know what? Let's scan this ad into the computer and then send it out to this list of emails.
Brilliant.
And see what happens. And we did that, and within the space of a couple of months, we made $3 million from that email send.
Wow.
From about a $4,000 investment for the email list. So
did you get
that was a light bulb moment for me. I was like, there's something to this online marketing stuff.
Yeah,
I need to learn this.
So let me get this. Let me understand this. You said that this is a client that you knew from the computer business. Are you mentioning that
absolutely.
from your job, or when you fixed their
No, from my company. That I had a client.
Your company, as in okay. So this is when you already started a company, or this is when you had a job?
Company, yeah.
Oh, okay. It was a client, and then this is one of the big breakthroughs that you had, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. How did you charge for that?
Not enough.
Not enough. So you didn't get a cut. You were just charging some retainer consulting fee.
I charged a flat fee, but that was the last time I ever did that. So.
Yeah. Well, that was a good case study, wasn't it, for you?
Yeah, exactly.
What was he charging?
I didn't know what was going to happen, so.
I mean, what was he charging though? What was his business to be able to make $3 million?
He sold investments.
Ah, okay.
He was selling investments, so he made good money from that campaign.
Sure.
And
did that spark your realization that some of the best clients you can get are those in investments and finance and real estate?
Big things. Yeah, anything with big margins was going to be a good one for me, because I was going to then charge a percentage of results instead.
Yes.
Which was one of the big breakthroughs. But with the breakthrough with the online marketing thing, after I realized this was a thing that could work really well, I went back and read hundreds of books again on marketing, and that's what started that. And then I started my own ad agency after that. So it's which is obviously BusinessNet, which is a 12-year-old company now.
I see. So 2005, you started BusinessNet.
Yeah.
All right. And you said you're an ad agency. What type of clients did you have, and what were you doing in the early days?
Well, we did try a few different industries, but we went back to the high margin ones pretty quickly, because those are the ones that get paid the most.
Yep.
If somebody's charging $10 for a product, they can't really share much with you.
No.
Versus if someone's charging 10, 20, 30 or 300 grand for a deal. So, we focused on those things because that was where our highest and best use was going to be.
Absolutely. And then Facebook came along, obviously, and you guys were at the early stages of Facebook advertising, right?
Yeah. Facebook advertising was announced just around 2009, and then I'm like, this is going to be better than anything that you could do. This is going to be better than Google. This is going to be better than emails. This is going to be better than anything, because of the way that it's targeting people. You can hone in on exactly the right people that you want to get in front of.
Mhm.
You do an offer, and you can get it right in front of the person who's more likely, like 80% more probably, or statistically going to buy this product. It's fantastic.
Wow. I mean, so you just intuitively knew that Facebook would be a complete gold mine. And
Yeah.
were you an active user? And I don't think I joined Facebook until I was a late adopter, 6, 7 years ago. I wasn't there in 2008 or nine, I don't think. Well, you
Yeah.
were there. When did you kind of
I
join
was a
Facebook?
user. Yeah, I was a user before the ad platform came out, and then when I saw the news that coming out that they're going to be able to start advertising, I'm like, this is going to be the next. This is going to blow everything out of the water, and I
Hmm.
realized straight away that we need to get on this right away, like
Yeah.
day one. So
So you just
start doing it, start testing it.
started testing with clients,
Yeah,
and what was some
yeah,
of the results you got in the early days? I mean, obviously we'll get to what you're currently doing, but back in the early days of Facebook advertising, back in 2009, 10, had they reached, I don't know, had they reached a few hundred million users at that point, or half a billion, back in the.
yeah. From memory, they had 350 million worldwide
Yep.
users, but in Australia there was only 6 million
Okay.
users.
So it's still a quarter,
Um,
a third, a quarter of our population was already on
yeah,
Facebook back in 2009, and you were
yeah.
focusing on local clients, right, back then?
Yeah, clients, the local clients, Australian clients, because that's where, obviously that was my network. And we got some really good results. One of our very first clients, we're doing about $1 million a month in sales for them through Facebook. And then I got a lot of referrals because of those results
Mm,
for
mm.
other companies.
And those
And
are more type
yeah,
of real estate type, developers and so on. So
yeah,
great margins.
financial investment industries were a big one for me.
Yeah.
Not only because of the referrals, but also because it was paying very well.
Yep.
So,
Yep. And what was the model then? Was it a retainer or a percentage? You were charging a percentage at the
percent,
time?
yeah, percentage, yeah.
Okay, great. I'm going to ask you some tough. Was it tough to negotiate? Like, let's say I know in real estate. Let's talk ballpark figures, okay? My understanding of the real estate industry, they generally, pay 5, 6% commission on to a broker, right?
Yeah.
And if you're not licensed, they can't pay you exactly a commission, but you can structure some compensation related to that.
Yeah,
What does
there's
it
ways
end
to
up?
do it.
What does it end up roughly being? Were they giving you roughly 10% of what they would normally give a six, a real estate person to generate a
Yeah.
lead, or what
Mm.
was your role? Was it just lead
I was,
generation through a seminar?
yeah, there are many different things, seminars, leads, sales, whatever it is that they wanted, but we were getting anywhere between 15 and 35% per deal or per profit. So,
Well,
you know,
15 to
worth it.
35% of what a typical broker would get, roughly.
Exactly.
That's a good
Yeah.
deal. That's great.
It's
That can
not
be
bad.
it can be pretty profitable if you're just sitting in front of your computer driving you're setting the right audience targets and and
Well, that's
optimizing
what
for
makes it
them.
so powerful. If people are still not spending big on Facebook, they're losing out. They're missing out big time. Like we
Wow.
spend millions of dollars on Facebook because we can turn $1 into four or $1 into $10
Hmm.
through Facebook ads, and we want to keep doing that over and over and over again, and make as much money as we possibly can
Yeah,
because that's the formula. The formula is put $1 in and get 4 out or get 10 out, and just repeat, repeat, repeat.
and scale. Yeah. Rinse and repeat. Now, I mean that's phenomenal results. And people, I think the takeaway here is, think about the industry where you can serve and generate a 4 to 10x return for them, right? Obviously to make it
Yeah,
profitable, because it's not just you got to consider profit margins, right? For every dollar, if you can get them $4, they should be profitable. They should be thinking about customer value, lifetime customer value,
yeah,
customer
exactly.
cost of customer acquisition. A lot of people are happy if they even break even, let alone
Yeah,
getting 3, 4x the return.
yeah.
It's extremely high, and
It's
no,
Facebook, man.
never in history could you be so targeted. And I don't
Yeah,
fully understand the Facebook optimization and how they, get the pixels and optimize further and further. They have very sophisticated algorithms. I'm sure you perhaps,
it is.
have an inkling of. But
It's fantastic.
it's what we've found is just in like a few weeks of advertising, our cost of leads dropped by huge factors. By just
Yeah.
changing a few things, they get really
Yeah.
optimized, and we're getting about 7 to 10x return on our investment at the moment. So
That's
we
really
know
good.
it works. And video has
Yeah.
been working extremely well for us. That's kind of our
Oh,
angle,
videos.
high
Really
impact
well.
videos, because people share. They love sharing videos. They love commenting. They even love what I found. I didn't expect so much of all these private pings. They didn't opt in and didn't book an appointment with me, but they ended up sending a lot of messages
Yeah.
privately. We're talking 7, 8 figure earners who won't opt in, right? But they're reaching out to us. So that's something to consider when you got a point of difference, right? Being preeminent.
Exactly.
For us,
Yeah.
it's the high impact videos. What is it for you guys? How do you create preeminence for your clients?
Yeah. Well, the biggest thing is thinking about how can I create a result in advance for my client before they do business with me?
Ah.
What kind of impact can I make in their life before they even transact with us? Because if you're creating value in somebody's life before they even transact, they're going to be more than willing to do business with you. Because if they go somewhere else, the other person's waiting for the transaction to occur before they give any value at all.
Wow.
So think about what kind of impact can I make in a prospect or a lead's life beforehand to help them on their journey towards solving their problem and achieving their solution.
Absolutely.
Pretty powerful.
It is very powerful. That's why I bought 20 tickets from you first, right? I'm just kidding. You're going to be one of my clients. I'm just kidding. This is my secret strategy. Why I'm interviewing you, sharing all your great wisdom with audience. I'm kidding. That is true. You really serve, give, and you will get back. Demonstrate value. I think that's the key.
Yeah.
People kind of like, I really can't give away, a week's work. Because back in the consulting days, we might do a month of pilot program for a big company for free, and then sign a
Yeah.
7-figure contract for a year.
Exactly.
And then the strategy would be continue to grow with that company, take them from $1 billion to 5 to 10 or 20 to 50 billion over 5 years. They're your client for life. A lot of the biggest strategy firms have that philosophy. We're here to grow with them. We've become an indispensable part of the executive team, and accordingly they grow, and it's a win-win sort of thing.
That's right. The more value, the more you get.
Absolutely. I mean, it's basic sort of life philosophy that sometimes we forget in business, isn't it? Right. So some of the really valuable gems there. So let's kind of wrap up here with some. Where are you now? What's the vision for the Mastermind? What's the vision for Ben Simkin? What's the vision for BusinessNet?
Very big questions.
Yes. What's the meaning of life, Ben?
Yeah. Vision for myself. We are diversifying. We're investing in many companies. So we take on clients with profit share, but we're also taking on companies we can part own and then grow them as well. So we're doing that. We're building a portfolio of companies. We have started doing that.
Great.
So that's the thing for myself. But one of the big things that we're driving is the Mastermind, because we have grown this thing over the last 3 years. It's growing every day, where people of all walks of life, in terms of business, if you think about a typical business owner, they're very isolated, especially these days. They're working from their homes usually. They don't have anyone to really relate to resonate with when they have problems, when they feel overwhelmed or depressed or worried about things, and they also can't share their wins with anybody because if they share their win with one of their friends or family members, hey, we just signed $1 million contract, the other person's thinking they're bragging and they're like, oh, well, you're a show off, whatever, and they don't get that. But entrepreneurs need a community of people they can bounce ideas off, they can share their wins, share their struggles, and have other ideas where people are, hey, I've got this problem. Somebody else in the group says, I had that problem before and this is how I solved it. And it creates a really powerful way for people to get ahead. And the kinds of results that we're seeing in this group that we're running, which is now in Australia and America now, so it's expanded internationally now into the US. That's why we're having this event over there.
Fantastic.
The kinds of results, we're seeing people start off with one client and then turning into multi-million-dollar companies within the space of 1, 2, and 3 years.
Fantastic.
These are the kinds of results we're seeing, which it's kind of like the goal that you have for your lifetime can be achieved in a much shorter time frame if you have the right people around you. And that's really what this is all about. And obviously, I'm sharing all of my experiences over the last, 14 years of business as well. So it's quite powerful to say, hey, this is what I did. You can do this as well. And I'm sharing everything that I'm doing too. So it's
Fantastic.
great.
I mean, that's something that, for in our situation, we also have our mastermind, but it's online as well as offline. And I guess a lot of entrepreneurs are realizing the power of the mastermind. I mean, Napoleon Hill, old Think and Grow Rich, will talk about the mastermind effect. So it's great that you're actually offering that to your clients who might not necessarily want to give up a percentage of the business to you, but they see the value of obviously your wisdom and your collective network who are part of this mastermind. So each one teach 5 or 10 and kind of expand that way. It's kind of like the mentoring at a supercharged level. What are the key benefits of the mastermind? What are the key benefits? The top 3 benefits of the mastermind, you would say?
Top 3. Have to summarize. There's probably a million benefits, but top 3. Number one would be getting access to what we're doing with multi-million-dollar companies. That you can, if you have a company that's doing say $500,000 right now, but you want to grow it, hey, this is what we're doing. This is the blueprint. Then they can install that into their company. Then they can see massive growth. So getting real life, actual practical things that they can do rather than just theories and ideas. This is what we did. They can install the same thing into their companies and get big results. Number 2, the mastermind, the force multiplier effect. So getting the insight from many different successful companies to say, if they're sharing their either struggle or their win, to get more insight to either say, this is how to overcome that, or here's how to make your win even bigger than what it is right now, and leveraging that brain trust.
Yes.
And number 3 is friendship. We all become extremely good friends that can have fun and can really chill out and really understand each other because we know what journey they're going on, and we can relate very well and just have a lot of fun when we go out and hang out.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant. And you're bringing it to New York, right? Kind of like
bringing it to New York in April.
Workshop, April 11th. If you're seeing this before April 11th, 2017, go to themastermind.com.au/NYC. I don't get a cut. It just goes directly to Ben. Order the tickets there. I think you only have 10 to 15 seats left. It's a small 80-person workshop, and you're trying to give the experience to. This is something that people pay thousands, if not over 10,000, or what I don't even know the exact pricing, but you're giving us an experience of that in a one-day environment, correct? Like how you would facilitate that process. Is that right?
Yeah, we're giving you a preview of what we do for our large clients. We're giving you the behind the scenes because we want to do a preview event for you guys to say, hey, this is what we do, and this is what we can do, and this is what you can do. Today, you can take away these things and go do them, and you'll see a result straight away, results in advance. And
that's a great.
And then people will be like, well, this is cool. Let's do more of this stuff. Let's work with Ben more. And that's really what it's all about, because we want to show you in advance what we can do. At the preview event, because it's not very expensive.
A few $100. Come on, it's like
the consultant fees that we charge. Is this is pocket change in comparison. So you want to get in on this. If you have seen this video before April the 11th, do it. Otherwise, you definitely going to miss out on doing this because we don't. This is the first time we've ever actually done this kind of thing. So get in on it.
Absolutely. So and then you're going to literally kickstart if they were to join the full. It's a 1-year program, right? If you join the full mastermind.
It is a 12-month program.
12 months. So it's serious stuff. It's not just for the 1 week, rah, and then see you later, right? This is a 1 year.
We want to grow with you. We want to work with you. And everyone who's joined has stayed. So in 3 years ago when we first started, 95% of those people have stayed since then.
That's so cool.
That's pretty good testament to the kinds of things we're doing there.
Absolutely.
But if people like that event on the 11th, then they can come the next day and actually participate in our actual high-level mastermind with high-level people. So it's a good opportunity.
I believe that's a 3-day mastermind.
It is a 3-day event.
And then the program for the year is every 3 months you get 3-day access
Exactly.
to this
Yeah,
this
every
intimate.
quarter we have events on. Yeah,
Wow, and you're the one facilitating, leading this, correct?
exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Brilliant, brilliant stuff. Well, all the best on April 11th. I'll be there. I bought like, I don't know, a lot of tickets, right? Over
a lot.
12, 15
Yeah.
tickets. So thank you again for joining us for this first, What's Your Star Purpose? What's your final few words, final few tips for people who are kind of struggling to find their purpose? Struggling to find out that breakthrough. What's the last few, pointers that you'd like to share with our audience?
Yeah, I think for people who are not achieving what they want to achieve, it can be hard to figure out what your purpose is. Moving forward, moving backwards, looking backwards, it's easier to see what your purpose is once
True.
you've sort of started to achieve it. But if you have a basic, vague idea of the direction you want to go, even if it's not 100% clear in your mind what that looks like, if you have a basic idea of what direction you want to take, you just got to take the steps. Just start walking towards it, and just like anything, if you walk, the closer you walk towards something, the clearer you can see it.
Mm-hmm.
So just take those steps. If you've learned something, apply it and do it, and just take those steps, and it'll eventually get to a point where you've achieved what you want to achieve.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Ben, for joining us today, and we'll see you in about 3 weeks, buddy.
Awesome. Talk soon.
All right, take care once again on behalf of Star Producer Academy. Live with purpose, compassion, and be free. Thank you, Ben.
Fantastic.
Signing off.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Cheers.
Bye.